Down. Happy Monday, happy Sunday, wherever you are across this beautiful wide world. This is your incoming Monday podcast. It's going to be a big one too, so no punches being saved here. So, like we do, Monday typically we try to steer it towards being a mindset-based podcast. And this one will be no different. So if you're coming into this one live, let us know that you're here. Let us know that you're watching on, and let us know that you are indeed ready to rock and roll. So how was the weekend, guys? How was the weekend? Let us know. What did you get up to? This is going to be big. So guys, to those of you that are watching on live, if you haven't already, what I want you to do is there should be, let me just check actually on the live link. There should be a link above that says Restream, okay? So, yep, you can see it. It says Negative Mind, listen up, chat.restream.io/Facebook. So, just looking here, JC, you're good. Cherie, good morning. I hope you're good as well. Troy, my brother, how are you, mate? Nikki, friend, if you've already said hi, but I didn't mention your name. Hey, Burns, how are you, girl? Please jump onto that link. So, morning, everyone. Whoever that is, please, guys, just try the link, and what it does is let me know who's actually here. Good morning. We are ready. I'm guessing that's Hazel or one of the guys over in the UK. Hey, mate, get on that link, guys, and approve it. We're going to be starting this episode. Look at this. 16 people already watching on live. Hello, Burns. How are you, mate? Morning, brother. So, guys, click that link. We're going to start this in 1 minute. The link just allows me to see on my streaming software who you actually are. Good morning, Sean. I hope you're good. Kenny and Hazel, click the link. That's you. You're not displaying, guys. Jeffrey, what's going on, brother? Lovely to have your company here. I hope it's not too cold out west. Hello, Joe. Likewise for you, girlfriend. Guys, we're starting this one in 30 seconds. It's funny. A little negative headline seems to bring people in, doesn't it? So hopefully I can give you some value this morning. Hello, Matty boy. How are you, mate? Lovely to have you in our academy. Hello, Pete. How are you, legend? Lovely to see you in here, my brother. Pete, get your ass on the call on Tuesday night, please, mate. Been a while, brother, so let's get you recalibrated. For everyone that's listening inside of Better Body Academy, for the Aussies, we do a live coaching call on Tuesday night at 8 p.m. Sydney time. Okay, so get on the call, 8 p.m. Sydney time. For everyone that's in Better Body Academy, 8 p.m. Sydney time. Yes, that is 3 a.m. my time. We get up and we do it because it's important. Nice work, Kenny. Hello, Jeff. Lovely to have your company in here, buddy. Guys, we're just about to get started. If you're a lady and you're in Australia, we do a live coaching call at 8 p.m. on Thursday night. Okay, now in between, UK, we do a Wednesday call at 8 p.m. UK time on Wednesday. Okay? So, guys, let's get started. Hello, Carls. Now, also, guys, just before we kick off, I want to do something special. Hello, Thorn. How are you, brother? I want to do something special. Can everyone wish Coach Carly, my beautiful sister, a happy birthday, 31st. Happy birthday to Coach Carly in the comments. I love you, sis. I'm so proud of the girl you've become, and it makes me so freaking happy to be able to work with you every day on going about our mission. So let's get started, guys, on the count of 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Welcome back to the Better Body Academy podcast. This is the podcast that you come to when you are sick of the dumb diets and unsustainable workout programs. We do weight loss very, very differently. Now, today, I want to address a topic that I see has become an absolute plague in society, a cancer. You know, people thought that COVID was this like crazy outlier condition that ruined a bunch of lives. And it did, right? But it wasn't an outlier. In truth, there's something that's far more insidious that's, in my opinion, plaguing the world. None of us seem to realize it, or at least just a few of us seem to realize it, because we're so caught in it. Do you guys know the phrase, you can't see the forest through the trees? What that phrase actually means is that you're so caught deep in the struggles of your situation that you can't see the actual fix, or at least the reasons why the struggle is happening. I'm here today to help zoom out and tell you that from a high level, the stem of almost all of the problems that we suffer in our life, myself included, is the negative mindset, the tendency towards the negative mindset. I want you to reflect for one moment on your typical day. Now, if you're not in Australia or somewhere else in the world, the day has been going for a while, right? If you're in Australia, you've just woken up. Whatever the case, usually here's what happens. People wake up, they check their phone, they expose themselves to a bunch of negative shit from the moment that they wake up. They go to a job that they then hate. They're surrounded by people that they don't particularly care about. Then they come home, dump all their shit on their partner. They then sit down and have a dinner that's depriving of good nutrition while they sit and watch the news that further poisons their mind. Death, 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 sport, weather, attempted a feel-good story about a fucking cat that got saved by a firefighter in a tree. And then it's an hour of shitty TV or two, playing on the phone, go to bed, wake, rinse and repeat, same day. And then we scratch our head and we go, oh my God, why is my life not what I want? Sorry to hit you smack bang on a Monday morning, guys, but that's what most people do. And that's the source of the problem. Mindset. What do you set your mind to? So like this negative mindset, where does this actually come from? To be honest, I want to exonerate you partly to blame. There's a nature-nurture influence here, right? If you grew up in a negative family with negative behaviors and a negative way of thinking, you almost certainly inherited that negativity. It's pretty hard not to. Not your fault. And further, if you're exposed to a bunch of, say, trauma during your childhood years, some people, crazy amounts of trauma, teenage years, then no doubt this made things profoundly worse. But it is so it's absolutely true that some people started at a disadvantage. And I think it's like people that grew up in rich families versus not, right? It's crazy to pretend that doesn't exist. But what is also true is that people continue to live in this disadvantage as a victim because they haven't become aware consciously that they've got a choice to change. Now, this is going to trigger a few people, but as a coach, I think it's my role to speak truth and not to piss around. The real truth is that some people are addicted to being the victim. That sounds weird, right? Addicted to being a victim. And here's why. They spend so long in that identity and they've reinforced it and embodied that exact thing in their life. And the reason that they struggle to break free from that negative mindset, that negative identity, is because that's their sense of self. That's their sense of comfort. We've become so attached to identity, self-loathing, being a failure, that there is actually a level of comfort in that. Tony Robbins talks about this. If you were to divorce yourself from your negative identity, who would you be? Like, that's a really tough thing to actually process. It's almost like for a lot of people, you've been so stuck in a way of thinking that's generally negative that if I was to do something different to now and divorce this identity, who would I be? What would I be able to lean on? It's almost like better the devil you know, right? Why risk change when there's a level of comfort of accepting I am just who I am, I'm like this. And you know what? When you accept that, this exonerates you from needing to do any work to change it. Would you agree? If you've decided that this is how I am, and you choose that, this is how I am, I'm just broken. Well, then that also means that you exonerate yourself from doing any work to change that. And guess what? I can speak to this absolutely firsthand because this is exactly what I did for 6 to 8 years. Just like I have this period in my life that feels like a vacuum. I blamed my circumstances on things external to me. Market conditions, my partner, my boss. How many of us do that? But something happened when I finally broke and hit my version of rock bottom. When I was forced to take action over my shit, all of a sudden I realized, oh my gosh, there is so much work to do. And it can be overwhelming. See, here's the thing. We have this dreamy idea about success, and I don't know where this comes from, but it's like this romantic idea about success. And it looks something like a desert island with loads of palm trees, drinking pina coladas and not doing much more than that, right? But I can tell you firsthand as someone who's living my own version of success, you might not feel that that's success, but it doesn't matter because your version of success is for you, that actually success is tiring, it's challenging. I feel like success for me is a constant torment because when you realize how many years you lost because you were stuck, it dawns on you, oh my God, now I've got to make up for it. I'm literally never stopped thinking about how I can work more, do more, experience more, be more. And when you're trying to juggle a million things, it gets tiring. So I can actually see why it's easier to just go, you know what, I'm fucked. This is it. So success is really not for everyone. Albert Einstein once said, it's the definition of insanity to repeat the same thing but expect things to change. My true belief is that the highest form of responsibility for a man or a woman, and particularly a parent, is to assume responsibility for everything that happens in their life, whether it's good or bad. You might not be at fault, but if you take the mindset that I'm responsible, regardless of what happened, when you assume total responsibility, this is the only time you're actually going to feel some sense of control. Okay, so how do we even change a negative mindset? Here's something that I think a lot of people don't understand, okay? The mind works almost like a muscle. Would you expect to any of that, like give us a silent hand raise if you're a regular in the gym. If you're a regular in the gym and you love being in the gym, you realize that you don't go into the gym, do one workout and then leave jacked. Like that's not, like we all know that. We know that that's not how it works. Why do we think that fixing our negative mindset is a quick and easy job? Like I truly believe the majority of us wake up with a tendency towards the negative, probably myself included, even if we are actually an optimistic person. Because let's face it, no one wants to get out of bed. The bed's comfortable. I don't want to get out of bed. So we wake up instantly needing to overcome the resistance of not wanting to get out of bed. And this is because the brain wants to protect us, to keep us in bed, to keep us safe, to keep us warm. The brain wants to do that because its highest priority above success, above looking good, is survival. The brain is wired to do that. But let me ask you a question, and this is the key question. Is being protected, safe, and warm the likely ingredient in a recipe for growth and success? Of course it's not. This means to be successful, you've effectively got to overcome resistance from the moment you wake up, even if you are an optimistic person. And at the start, that's incredibly hard to do. But like building muscles in a gym, with repetition, it gets easier. There's 24 people watching on live here. Who feels, honestly, give me a yes in the comments, who feels that over time, the gym has become habitual? Dare I say, we might even enjoy it a little bit. Who's had that evolution take place? I'm not saying that it's not painful, we don't procrastinate, it doesn't hurt. I'm saying who's noticed that evolution take place, where they've actually started to enjoy the process a little bit more. That's actually what happens when you start to change your mindset, because you can see stripping away these old negative beliefs. Yes, 100%. I love this. Let me give you an analogy. Think of a negative mindset like a fireplace, okay? A fire needs 3 things to survive: heat, fuel, as in wood, and oxygen. Heat, fuel, and oxygen. The 3 things that a negative mindset requires to survive are negative thoughts, supported by negative environments and negative people. Negative thoughts, negative environments, negative people. That's the magic recipe for a negative mindset. You take away 1 or 2 of those elements, the people, the negative thoughts, the negative mindset, the negative environment, the fire can't survive. I think it's completely fanciful to wake up and think that you're going to have zero negativity. Like, that's just ridiculous. Negativity in your life is always going to happen. Always. Negative thoughts are always going to happen. But what's important is learning to extinguish those negative thoughts when they first catch light. We've got to train ourselves to be able to quickly extinguish them like one would a small grass fire before it turns into an all-out bushfire. The first step is cutting off negative environments and people. If you know the negative thoughts are fueling these things, then why keep fueling it? That's kind of like a fireman turning up to a grass fire and throwing petrol and wood on the fire. It doesn't actually make any sense. We've talked about the news, but that's not the only source. I'd love for you to do a quick self-assessment here, guys, of where you might be fueling the fire. Again, there's 20 plus people watching on live. Where are you potentially fueling your fire? Given that we all have a tendency towards a negative mindset when we wake up, even if we're optimistic, what is potentially an environment, a behavior, or a person or persons that are fueling that fire? For those of you that are in relationships, this can be one of the hardest things to deal with when your partner is completely negative. It's so hard. They don't tell us this in the honeymoon period, right? But one of the most important decisions that you can make in life is choosing the right person to spend the next 80 years with. This person either supports you or enables your shitty mindset. Let's also now challenge our beliefs. Did you grow up in a household where you were repeatedly told money doesn't grow on trees, or that's really, really hard, so we should avoid not doing that? There's no evil in this from your parents, but our parents didn't realize the mental frameworks that they were creating for us to then live by for the next 80 years. You can tell a negative mindset from a million miles away. When someone asks you, or you ask someone, "How are you?" and they respond, "Yeah, not too bad." What the fuck? Like, why are we ranking things on a scale of not too bad, which I assume means good in a relative sense, to like completely shit? Why are we ranking things on a negative scale? This is where we literally have to take control and change our language. This is the lowest level of mindset change. How are you? You can choose to reply to that however you want, but just be mindful that how you choose to reply sets the tone for your mindset, your behaviors. Your reply is essentially an affirmation. For me, this is the simplest change that you can make. When you go to the bank, when you go to the shops, when you meet your family, start responding with that question with optimism rather than the two-step expectation of, "How are you?" "I'm not bad." And what you're asking for really is "Oh, what's going on? What's wrong?" So that you can then dump your shit. Now, make a clarification, guys. There's a big difference between asking for help and talking about that in a positive framework, solutions-based, versus just spewing out diarrhea of negativity everywhere you go. Let's keep moving. The simplest way to determine who you should hang out with, someone or not, is how they react when you tell them about your wins. Okay, when you tell them about your wins, true friends that have your best interests at heart will authentically love everything that you win at. And they will be stoked that you share that with them because it makes them feel good about themselves to have played a role in your journey. But they get involved in that without it letting that define themselves. That's what a true friend is. In contrast, a frenemy will cheer you really loudly at the start because they're really inspired by your energy because it helps them to become successful too. But if you become too successful, too proud of your results, they stop cheering for you, they stop supporting you, not because you're winning, because of how it makes you feel about yourself. And if you feel or you start to identify people in your close circle that are the latter of those, you've got to amputate those like a gangrenous tongue. You got to chop it off. or a toe, chop it off. It will continue to rot and spread until you cut it off. This is why keeping a small circle is something that I feel like I almost personally have to do by necessity. Let's go to you. Ask yourself a simple question. Think about who the 5 people are that you spend the most amount of time with. Like literally just mentally identify them right now. Mentally identify them. Come on, guys. Do it. Identify them. Who are the 5 people that I spend the most amount of time with? For me, that's, aside from my kids, my partner, my sister, Mike, I'd have to get back on the rest. But let's go with the first 3. Those people are 3 people that are growing every day, that are not intimidated in any way by me winning every day, that I see them winning and support them every day. So when you do that activity, ask yourself, do they add love and value to your life, or do they take away from it? This is really difficult, and sometimes you need to have a really set conversation. Let's wrap this up. Let's talk about your goals, including your transformation right now. I can see the difference between someone who starts in Better Body Academy and who's going to absolutely nail it over the long term, or someone that's not. The unsuccessful people see programs or transformation programs as a tick in the box to get an outcome. They get pissed off when the outcome doesn't happen quickly, and they reason that it doesn't happen is because of the negative mindset that they've gone into it with. I have to work out. Oh, I have to do these steps. Oh, I have to eat this food. I have to do check-ins. No, actually not. You don't have to do anything. Winners don't have to do these things. Winners choose to do these things because they're the pavers of success that need to be filled into this path. If you have 2 legs and 2 arms, you should be fucking grateful for the opportunity to move and feed yourself good food, because there are people in the world that don't have that access. And if you give up at the first difficult step, it's so strange to me, because if I was to ask you at the start, do you think this is going to be easy? Like, do you think you're going to be able to change your entire mindset and lifestyle around your physical health and how you look and feel when you look into the mirror? Do you think this is going to be easy? Of course you say no. It's going to be hard. You're trying to change 20, 30, 40 years of living a certain way. So why then are you downing tools the moment things get a little bit challenging? That was predictable. Here's a question. Are you toe dipping and pretending that that's swimming? You're toe dipping. You have to go all in. You have to get involved. And as we say in Better Body Academy, FTFP, follow the plan, trust the plan, fast forward 6 to 12 months and watch what happens. The process of creating the right mindset is so important that we are starting an advanced program on it to start at the start of September. This will be a no sheep mindset zone. It will be application based, and if you want to be part of it, I'm going to need to know that you're committed at the start. We're going to be careful on who we bring into this program. If you have a negative mindset, but you're very committed to changing that, perfect. But if you're a negative mindset and you're looking for a place to dump more negative energy and excuses, this won't be the program for you. So guys, a little bit of thinking room there, I think, today. This is a challenging thing. I think of sometimes like waking up and hearing this at 6:30 in the morning in Australia and just going like, what the fuck? Like, this is heavy. Well, if you want to change your life, we need to be honest with ourselves. We need to be able to make these shifts. And, you know, if you can, and then in the book, The Power of Now, he talks about this. If you can detach your reactivity from and able to just like look and go, what am I doing? Is this true for me? Is this relevant for me, this information? And if it isn't, great. If it is, what can we do about it now? Like, what can we do about it now? Just like go over the highlights of this podcast. Have a look at your circle. Who do you need to cull? I get that it's tough. I get it. But just take that analogy of just pouring more petrol onto the fire and then going, oh, how did this turn into a bushfire? Like, don't be surprised when that happens. You've got to be in the right place, guys. You've got to be surrounding yourself by the right people. Guys, this has been the Better Body Academy podcast, coming to you on another Monday episode / Sunday afternoon for the rest of the world. I'll see you in the next episode. Guys, still 15, 16 people watching on live. Does anyone want to kind of comment, have a chat about that? Interested in knowing the thoughts, especially if you're in our free group, potentially. I'm growing because I'm surrounded by growth. That makes sense. It's almost like, think of it like if you're a plant in a garden somewhere, right? And then someone put a bunch of water and a bunch of fertilizer on the garden, it generally isn't selective of the plants. Like, the plants grow together. We call it a garden. The garden is a collection of plants that are growing together. And if you're in the right garden, you grow. If you're in the dead garden with dead dirt that's infertile, that doesn't get water, you see the difference. Steve says, that's why I quit my job. What part of it, Steve? Do you mean the negative environment, the negative kind of thoughts? Like, what do you mean by that? That's why I quit my job. I'm guessing you mean because it was a negative garden. Is that what you mean? I find the culling quite difficult without offending others. Cherie, that is the number one thing that people say. And it's hard. It's really, really hard. Like, Carly says, Cherie, I love this comment. I used to feel like that. Okay, so we've got to look at the options, Cherie. You don't have to, right? You don't have to. So then I guess a little, like, grab yourself a coffee or a tea and step back and ask yourself, okay, well, what's a relationship? A person might be super negative, but they maybe are playing a different role in your life potentially. I think what it is mostly is that we share memories with people from the past. And no one's saying that you delete the memories and burn the photos, and no one is saying that. No one's saying that. Like, that's what's made us who we are. But there's that idea of, Cherie, actually, I've just had a thought, potentially, and I want to challenge you with this thought and maybe let it sit with you for a while, is if you're tolerant of that negativity, is that impartial because you don't think that you deserve a higher level? That's a pretty, head-on thought. Because what I've come to understand personally, for me, might not be true for you, is that you've got to prioritize yourself first, above your kids, above your partner. In other words, prioritize your mindset first, above your kids, above your partner, above your job. And the reason for that is not because you're selfish, but actually because you're very generous. You realize that in order for you to show up as mum, as sister, as auntie, as boss, as employee, whatever it is the frame for you, unless you've prioritized your own mindset, you're going to be showing up with your negative baggage as well, which we all have, but from a high level. From a high level, you want to show up in your best sense. This is where people get kind of, I think, a little bit confused about money. The way I think about money is that people have negative connotations around money, and therefore they repel it. But if you understand that the more money you have, the better you are able to help other people. I don't know many people, personally, that have lots of money and don't have a lot of people actually not depending on them, but benefiting from their money, as an example. Not many people who have made it to some level of success just hold their money like this. And that's because part of becoming successful is that you have to engage other people. You're not a lone wolf. You've had to recruit other people. And so when you recognize that and then you want to give back when you get to the level of success or whatever it is for you. So I think maybe just sort of pondering on that thought, Cherie, finding the cull quite difficult. I think that is an inherently that's difficult with any circumstance, myself included. But then it's like, okay, well, two options. Do I continue to put up with it knowing that it will limit me, or do I make a hard decision? Actually, if it is someone that's really important in your life, let's just pretend, I'm not saying it is, but let's just pretend this is your partner, okay, or anyone's partner. So the conversation needs to be had. Like, this is really difficult for me to bring up, babe, but can we sit down and like talk about something? I'm finding it difficult to move forward because of the environment that we're creating here. And I would like to feel that we're fostering an environment which is growing us and letting us experience more. I mean, does it ever dawn on people that like I just turned 41 and average life expectancy for a man is like 82 or something like that. Like I'm very aware of my own mortality. And it's like, oh, how many years are we just going to let go? Like Nick, this is an interesting comment from Nick. Accepting that I am responsible for how I respond to everything has helped me change my life. It's helped me over. Yeah. And like, I don't know if you feel like this, Nick, but you're operating at a pace now, which is like, fuck, man, it's so quick. And the reason is because probably for a long time, the frame that you lived in, not being critical, the frame that you lived in was limiting you. It's almost like, okay, the fish can't turn, the goldfish can't turn into a tuna if it's in a bowl this big. And most of the times we are actually putting the limitations on ourselves with that bowl. Right? We're choosing to stay there. And that's a really, catching up. Exactly, Nick. You and I feel exactly the same way. I feel like I'm playing catch up. It's like if I don't, I've got to move. Like I've got to, fuck this. Like, and yes, we have to be rooted in some gratitude. I get that. But this is where there is a level of torment in being ambitious, because you recognize that you get to where you're like, you hit that, right? You hit your thing that you want to achieve, and then you're like, oh, I could probably do more. Oh, I can probably do more. Oh, I could probably do more. And I don't even mean get more. I mean do more, experience more. I'm really lucky in my relationship that I probably have a more of a homebody type mindset. Oh, do you want to go out to dinner? Nah, let's just stay at home. Like I typically have that type of a tendency. My partner is like, let's go out. And I'm like, yeah, you're right. And then I go out and I do things and I'm like, I fucking really enjoyed doing that. And so this is where like having an open conversation with your partner is like super, super important. Just going to go to Jeff's comment. I know firsthand how hard it is to cull negative people from my life. I basically have no mates at the moment, but I think it's better than having a group of negative ones. You know what, Jeff? Dude, one of the struggles of success or whatever is feeling like you're abnormal because your situation's different. Like when people are struggling, they think, oh man, I'm such a failure, but no one feels this way. Like, why am I such a failure? The majority of people feel this way. Actually, Jeff, firsthand, mate, if I'm just completely honest, outside of my friends circle, my direct friend circle, I have one guy that I hang around in Canada. Outside of my direct family circle, one guy. One. So I'm the same. And that's not like, have you ever been in okay, so I'm just going to open here. If you're in let's say you're at the pub having a beer and you're drinking that beer and you're like, the whole time you're drinking, you're thinking, I don't really want to be here. And the whole time you're thinking, it's like, there's chat, like, and particularly chat amongst guys sometimes goes down the line of like dissing their wives and being fucking disrespectful to women. And like that's okay maybe when you're 20, 25 and you're a young fella that's got no idea. But when you kind of get to the age of where you know who you are and you've built a level of self-image and you know what you like and what you want to tolerate and what you won't, and then you find yourself in a situation where you're out of alignment Well, you could choose to go, well, you know what? Like these people are like, I'm going to stay here because I feel like I've then got friends. That's going to be so inhibitory to you deciding to not be that. And what'll actually happen, as an example, I'll give you an example, Jeff. I think I've told you this before. Mike, Coach Mike, I only met him for the first time when I come back to Australia a couple of years ago. But he's one of my best mates now because of the fact that there's a synergy here. And when you kind of, we're talking about the car, Jeff, you buy a white Ford Explorer, you don't see any of them. And then the moment you buy them, bang, everyone on the road's got a white Ford Explorer. And you're like, how the hell is that possible? Well, it's almost the same for when you kind of ditch the negativity and you put antennas up for people that, build you and want to grow, then all of a sudden you start to attract that back as well. And I think that's a good way to think about it, mate. But you're not alone there, dude. And again, put yourself in. You're coming back into the academy, Jeff, and you're putting your hand up and you're showing up and you showed up to the call last week and you should show up to the call this week. You could keep showing up and watch what happens when you start to break down those barriers. All right, guys. If there's nothing anymore, thanks very much for joining me this morning. It's been a lovely chat and I appreciate the hell out of everyone. And we'll see you in the next episode. Take care.